everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sideline Banter, brought to you by Women of Fantasy Football. I am Sam Holt, joined this week by none other than Josh Hudson. I really appreciate you jumping in. Tate had a few technical difficulties, but we might get him on later for petty parlays, so really appreciate you jumping in.
Hey, it helps to have a Tuesday night off every once in a while. Got you, Sam. I got you.
Yes, so appreciate it. Let's go. You know, we were talking a little bit off camera about what I wanted to cover to begin this episode, and I said we have to talk Monday Night Football, and you said please don't make me relive it. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna make you relive it anyways, so you're gonna have to deal with it. There's too much to talk about from this matchup that's gonna take people into their playoffs. We can't leave people on the edge of their seats. We gotta talk about it. It's painful.
All right, fine. I'll bitch and complain. It is what it is.
I mean, that can just be the first, 5-10 minutes we talk about Monday Night Football. It's just how much that it sucked. I mean, what was the stat? It was it 4 turnovers total in the first half?
Jalen Hurts had -4 fantasy points on one play. That is the epitome of how disgusting this Eagles offense has been through 14 weeks. Awful.
Yeah. No, I know. It was like it came to an odd... you can't call it a pinnacle. It's more of just like the deepest of valley gorges of just how bad that it's been. But you have to... We're in the playoffs. If you made it into the playoffs despite Jalen Hurts, one, put it in the chat. Would love to see your team and see what situation you're dealing with. You're likely not getting the bye if you started Jalen Hurts.
I lost one of my dynasty
so curious.
Getting into the playoffs because Jalen Hurts shit the bed.
I eked in with another one that we'll have to talk about when we talk about Justin Jefferson a little bit later. But I did eke in that one. So again, we have to talk about it. Like, yes, it was a horrible game. Yes, his stats were bottom of the barrel deplorable. However, this week he has a very good matchup against the Raiders. So this really feels like you have to etch-a-sketch your brain a little bit just to feel good with starting him. Because, again, this is the Raiders. At least the Eagles are at home. They're comfortable at home. And I do feel like this is a team that runs really well with a grudge. It's almost like they're trying to put themselves into a hungrier position so that way they can try their best to even eke out a playoff spot, because it's looking really thin right now.
Well, I mean, the positivity bunny didn't work, so if we want to go off of the
positivity bunny didn't work.
Whatever the hell that was in the locker room.
Sadly true. Did you see what the Chargers posted? Their social team is unmatched.
They're elite.
They posted their own bunny, and that was kind of amazing.
Great. Yeah, no. I honestly don't even know anymore. I don't know what version of Jalen Hurts we're going to get in a given week. I don't know what version of Saquon Barkley we're going to get in a given week. I mean, this is the first game that Dallas Goedert's had in a while where he's actually put up stats outside of just scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
Smitty for whatever. I mean, it's always two of the three, right? It's always, either AJ Brown and Goddard or AJ Brown and Smitty, or, AJ and Saquon, but it's never all three or all four, right? And I don't understand it. This is the most expensive offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
You should be throwing up 30 points every game.
Instead, they're just throwing up.
Yeah. They're like, it's like
it's
Donovan McNabb in the Super Bowl, like up-chucking in the middle of the huddle. Like, what are we doing here?
No, it doesn't make any sense. I want to try and find tiny, slim bits of positivity, though. I understand it's brutal. I get it. But when you're talking about who you're going to start with any confidence going into this week, you have to start Jalen Hurts. This defense, they're going to try and get after him. Crosby's definitely going to try and get after him. However, they have struggled quite a bit. And I do feel like between Barkley and between AJ Brown, who has been so electric, these past couple weeks, and even this past game, he still did hit 100 yards. So he's still, even with as terrible plays he's still getting yards. He's still getting you points against Vegas. Against the running back position, the Raiders are 25th against the position, and against receivers, 28th. So I do feel like there is going to be some level of positivity. The only little asterisk there, they're actually really good against tight end, and they're 4th in the league against that position. So maybe this isn't your Dallas Goedert week, despite the fact that it is the Raiders. That being said, you have to start A.J. Brown. You have to start Saquon Barkley. This week's episode is called Start Your Studs. Doesn't feel right. Your studs are not so shiny right now, but you got to start these ones.
Yeah, I mean, so on our waiver wire show on Club Fantasy this morning, we had a question. Would you start Drake May or Jalen Hurts? Sorry, I'm going Drake May.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I don't care if it's against Buffalo. The Bills' defense is terrible.
The Bills' defense is terrible.
I think it really just boils down to if you're in a position to where you have a better option. Right?
If you have a better option, then yes, you're starting him. And I think that's a really good comp too. Looking at Fantasy Life rankings, Drake May sitting at QB3, Jalen Hurts sitting at QB4. So it's just the very simplest of maths. You go with Drake May. Funny enough, Stafford is sitting at QB2, which is not necessarily something you'd be thinking in week 15 for fantasy purposes. If you told me that before the season started, I'd be like, what is happening? What world are we living in?
We talked about it in the offseason. Matthew Stafford has always been a good quarterback, but he's never been great for fantasy.
Yeah.
But this year, those touchdown numbers have absolutely skyrocketed. I mean, he's 35 touchdown passes this year. That's elevated him into the top 5. But this is also what feels like a historically low season in terms of fantasy rushing output from quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like we're through 14 weeks of the season. Not a single quarterback has rushed for over 500 yards.
No,
that's crazy to me.
That is crazy too. I mean, just again looking at freaking Josh Allen's yards, he's under 500 at 487. But you talk about passing touchdowns, and you're right. Stafford is leaps and bounds ahead of the next quarterback. He's ahead of Dak Prescott by he's 35 touchdowns. Prescott has 26. Like, it's insane. It's insane, this margin that he's got. And it doesn't feel like it's stopping anytime soon. This really just feels like one of those moments where McVay is just cooking on a different level in terms of what he's drawing up. And maybe it's something to do with the inspiration of having, Devontae Adams in this offense and seeing the speed that he gets out of him and being able to make him feel more dynamic as well. In terms of, also looking at streaming players going into this week, I started Colby Parkinson this weekend, and I did just fine. Yeah. I was like, I've lost Laporta. I've lost so many tight ends in this one league, and I was like, waiver pickup, screw it, gonna be throwing Parkinson in there. And even he got me a decent week at over 10 fantasy points. He had a touchdown himself, 3 receptions on 32 yards off of 5 targets. I mean, it's just, to your point, 3 catches and then the touchdown is what puts you over the edge. And that's just kind of been how it is for a lot of these pass catchers for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, it's Puka Nacua. He's the anchor of this passing attack.
Yeah.
And then they just distribute touchdowns to everybody else. So it was really nice to see Puka Nacua get into the end zone not once but twice this past week.
Exactly. So question in the chat from Joseph, Matt Stafford or Drake May this week. Again, if you're just doing the basic maths, and I'm looking at Fantasy Life rankings, I'm a company woman. Matt Stafford is QB2 against the Lions, and Drake May being QB3 against the Bills. Just the odds are in his favor. I will also say this is, knowing Northeast versus the West Coast is going through a little bit of a heat wave right now. So it's nice and warm for your quarterbacks going into this weekend. I'm going to try and see if I can get tickets to this game. Fingers crossed. We'll see if I can end up going. But it's in LA. We know that Jared Goff loves to be a happy indoor cat. He likes to be inside. It's also nice and sunny in LA. He's comfortable here. I do feel like this could end up being a very high scoring game. But to that extent, Stafford's at home. It's going to be gorgeous weather. It's going to be a beautiful day for fantasy points for that quarterback.
Well, the Lions secondary is so beat up. I mean, Terry and Arnold's on IR. Brian Branch just went down with an Achilles tear. I believe it was Achilles. So, this is setting up for Stafford to throw 4 touchdowns against his former team. They don't have anybody that can stop Jamison Williams or Amon-Ra St. Brown. And there was the debate of whether or not Amon-Ra would even play last week. He ended up playing, did pretty well. Now he's got 10 days to rest that ankle. He's going to be just fine. Yeah. So now you're going full throttle on offense with the Lions, and if there's a weak point in that Rams defense, it's their secondary.
Yeah.
So I don't see it like this is going to be a big back and forth game. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of defense anyway. That being said, Drake May obviously offers that rushing upside, but the way the Patriots have been winning, they haven't really needed Drake May. So, like, May has been steady for fantasy purposes.
Yes, he's been steady.
He's been more of a floor play versus a ceiling play.
Sure.
And I think, when you're getting into the nitty gritty here in the playoffs, you've got to be able to chase both. Stafford provides you both.
I mean, he's been providing you at least with touchdown gold in terms of consistency and a high ceiling for those touchdowns. And again, just because this is a matchup that's got so much on the line for the Lions, dealing with all the injuries that they've been dealing with, and everyone's obviously fighting for that playoff spot still, I do feel like this is going to be a potentially high-scoring game. And if I had to put my odds on it, I would say that you're going to end up with higher fantasy points from Stafford than May this week. But again, it's 2 and 3, so we're splitting hairs on two really great starts.
And that Bills defense is pretty trash, let's be honest.
Yeah, they're pretty bad too. You know what would be really weird? This has been such a bizarre season for teams on all fronts. Like the fact that the Chiefs, and we'll talk about them in a second, going up against the Chargers, because we have to lead from Monday Night Football into that matchup and everything going forward there. It would be such a weird Super Bowl to have just everyone that you would expect just not show up. Like, I want to just say, like, what would be because 2 weeks ago we had one of the messiest top scorers in fantasy, and this just feels like a messy season. What would be the messiest Super Bowl matchup that you would say? Like teams that just, it doesn't make sense, but it kind of makes sense given where things are at.
The Jaguars.
Okay, yes.
Coming out of the AFC. I mean, they're in prime position to not only win the South, but the way that Trevor Lawrence has been playing football the last month of the season, having a reliable target over the middle in Jacoby Myers, I could see them making a run.
Yeah.
Out of the NFC, if we're talking messy.
Yeah, if we're talking
Seattle?
Messy.
How about
Seattle? I was just going to say Seattle's
Jaguars.
Is
so good.
It's so good. It's insane. Like the fact that, I mean, you could bench certain players in fantasy and just start the Seattle defense and know that you're going to end up still securing the win is kind of insane.
I think another outside the box from the NFC.
Yes, outside the box, please. Panthers would be that would be.
So I saw
that'd be white girl wasted. That would be insane.
Offseason. I think it was from Bleacher Report.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Barstool. I can't remember. But they were going back. They were looking at all these like weird like trends and all this kind of stuff. And when you look at how the stars align with like different like events that have gone on, every single time that the Panthers have made the Super Bowl, it like Alabama had like lost the championship or I can't remember specifically what it was, but all those events literally happened right before this season. Oh my God. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm putting $5 on the Panthers to make it to the Super Bowl and win the NFC. It pays like $250. I'm like, sure, whatever.
Do it for the plot. It'll be fun. No, just looking at the playoff picture really quickly on ESPN and trying to pick again what would be like a messy route. I mean, Bears ending
Bears
up in there would it be pretty sloppy.
I mean,
Bears Patriots. Bears Patriots. Like, who says no?
Yeah. I mean, it's very much in the realm of possibility. I think the biggest thing with the Patriots right now is like people are just like, oh, they haven't played anybody. Their schedule's been so crazy.
Yeah, their schedule's been so easy.
But like, look at when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl in 2022. They had a cake schedule, and everybody was like, oh, they can't hang. They can't hang. They were one Jalen Hurts fumble away from beating the Chiefs.
Yes.
Like, they can hang. And I think the Patriots are in that same boat. They're extremely well coached. They play good defense.
Yeah.
And Drake May is on one right now. Like, he's looking the part.
I think my favorite one, I think that Seattle Jags is pretty wild. I think like talking about Super Bowl, like a boring Super Bowl, just because the defenses have been so good. Houston, Seattle. That would be.
I love D'Amico Ryans. I love D'Amico Ryans.
I kind of would love that for him too.
I would love that for him, especially because if I'm not mistaken, he was the DC when during one of San Fran's runs to the Super Bowl and fell short. So
Zach throwing this in the chat. Bengals would have been sloppy. There's not a chance.
Not anymore. Not after losing to Buffalo.
None. There is zero shot.
God, if that defense got to the Super Bowl, oh dear Lord.
There's a better chance I start at quarterback for the Colts this week than the Bengals making it to the playoffs. Like 1,000%. All 5'5", 130 of me. Like, yeah, there's a much better chance of that happening. But yeah, that was fun. Anyways, that was a lovely little diversion. Guys, if you have questions, sit questions going into your playoffs, or you just want to flex and brag because you made the bye, please throw those in the comments. Would love to highlight them. I always enjoy how active everybody is in the chat for our show. Really appreciate it. All right, we got to talk a little bit. I want to talk last thing about Monday Night Football, just because I want to talk about Justin Herbert and the Chargers in terms of how you're starting any pass catchers for the Chargers going into this week. This is definitely going to be something where you're going to be checking out your matchups and you're trying to figure out and finesse what works best for your roster. I mean, currently Justin Herbert's sitting at QB 18 on Fantasy Life rankings. So if single quarterback league, you're not starting Justin Herbert. Marion Hampton's back. It's going to be a little bit of an interesting split backfield between him and Vidal. So those guys you're probably still starting. But how confident are you in those starts?
I'm not confident at all in Amari and Hampton. Casey's run defense is legit.
He didn't show it for you yesterday? You're feeling
well, but I mean, you also have to keep in mind that first off, we didn't have Jalen Carter.
Sure.
And running backs eat up that defense without Jalen Carter. He got the early receiving touchdown, but they just completely went away from the run. Like Justin Herbert was their leading rusher.
Yeah.
And, they basically did that instead of throwing the football, which is why Herbert only had 130 some odd yards passing. Kansas City's run defense is legit. I think they're allowing just since week 10, the 7th or 8th fewest fantasy points to running backs. And Hampton is literally in a 50-50 split. Like they split the total touches, Hampton and Vidal. So like that right there in and of itself limits his upside. Now you put in the fact that it's not a great matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's anything more than a flex play, and I honestly would rather feel more comfortable going the wide receiver route because I think wide receivers just in general have better upside in a week basis.
I think that's fair. Fantasy Life rankings have Marion Hampton sitting at RB 21, so low end RB2, which I think it makes sense based on kind of what we're outlining. And when you see the way that the Chiefs defense has played against the position, 7th against running backs this season, I mean, say what you will about them not looking like themselves, there's certain things they're still doing really well, and locking up running backs is one of those things. Against the receivers, though, I mean, outside of Ladd McConkey, how confident are you in anyone else? Because they're also 14th against the position, but Ladd has had a struggle to try and see big fantasy points. Obviously, yesterday was insane.
Well, he faced our god Cooper DeJean. So
yeah, I wish I had a Cooper DeJean candle and I would just like light it and it would protect my home. I think lighting Cooper DeJean candles around your home is actually safer than having like any sort of ring service on your front door. Like, I mean, come on, talk about protection.
Our cornerback duo between
all the time.
Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell is straight up legit. They are
wild.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Talk about feeling safe and secure.
Yeah.
I don't know what other gentleman I would feel safer around than Cooper DeJean. Don't have to
shot, Sam.
I don't have to cover my drink around him. I know that much. He's got me covered, so I don't have to cover my drink when I'm at the bar.
Love it.
Just batting things away. Got you. He would be fun to hang out with. That aside, I just want to talk, like, again, we're looking at trying to find upside for the fantasy playoffs. You're not starting Justin Herbert unless you're in super flex, and I still think you could find better arguments for others to start ahead of him as your, QB2. Outside of Ladd McConkey, I'm very hesitant to start any other pass catchers. And even Rondé Gadsden, who's been fantastic this season for you, he hasn't had a week with more than 10 fantasy points since week 9. Last couple weeks, he's barely scratched 7 fantasy points. And they need him to block, and that's why.
Yeah, I've been off the Rondé Gadsden train for the better part of 6 weeks now. The moment that Joe Alt went down, they were going to run more jumbo packages. They were going to either put him in the block, or, which really is not great because Gadsden's not a good blocker, or they were going to run out a lot more like Will Dissly in those blocking packages, which ultimately takes him off the field, or you're splitting him out wide like a wide receiver. And tight ends that tend to run more outside, not great. They operate so much better out of the slot. And you're just not going to have those types of formations when you're doing those jumbo bunch packages. So, I've been very much like, we can move off of Gadsden. I've been saying it for weeks now. And I think his receiving prop line heading into this game was 3.5 receptions. We were hammering the under on that, and he had 1. Yeah. So I'm very much off of Gadsden as an option. To me, that passing attack is either Lad McConkey or say a prayer and hope that Quentin Johnston remembers that he actually has hands and can catch the football. Because even Keenan Allen hasn't done much in 6 weeks.
What are these for?
What do I do with my hands?
What do I do with my hands? I don't understand. It's so confusing. Shapes and colors. My God. All right. That's enough of Monday Night Football recap. We've got plenty more to talk about. Guys, again, get any questions you have for start sit or going into the playoffs, or you just want to flex about how you managed to get into the playoffs, please do throw those in the chat, and Josh and I will bring them up onto the screen. Going to throw this one up here from Joe. Is Yoshivas a must-add since I have T. Higgins? Higgins is out. Would you start him over Godwin? That's interesting, because we were actually talking about Godwin a little bit before we went live. In terms of how he plays and how Atlanta plays defense against the slot, which he runs a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Higgins, you have to make this decision by Thursday because Godwin and the Bucs play on Thursday.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get word on whether or not T. Higgins passes concussion protocol. And I would put a large amount of money on T. Higgins not playing this week after clearing protocol not once but twice on Sunday and then immediately having concussion symptoms the very next day. They're not going to risk it. They're going to sit him out at least 1 game.
Yeah.
So perfectly fine going Godwin over T. Higgins.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Well, no, it's not just Godwin over T. Higgins. He wants to know about Yoshivas because he wants to know if he should be picking him up, because if he sits out, could he be seeing?
So I like
carries?
the idea of Yoshivas more with Joe Flacco because Flacco doesn't. I don't know. Ever since his Baltimore days, he hasn't really been targeting the tight end position as much. It feels like when T. Higgins is out, that's Mike Gesicki time. And now that Gesicki's off IR, Gesicki kind of vaults into that that second target in the passing attack. So it's Chase. Yeah, and I mean Jamar Chase twice. He's going to see 20 targets with T. Higgins out.
Wait a minute.
Going into Gesicki, then Chase Brown, and then probably Yoshivas. Like Yoshivas will have that Isaac Tesla type of 3-4 targets and then maybe an end zone target here. That's kind of his upside here. You're talking about, a ceiling of maybe 12 fantasy points if he's able to score. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, you're probably looking at 4 to 6 fantasy points. And I just don't know that that's really it if Gesicki's active, which now coming off of IR, he's been pretty involved.
Yeah. There's a fun tool over on fantasylife.com if you guys want to go over there and check it out. Definitely check it out if you can. There is a lovely...
Fantasy Life is awesome. We love them.
It's so much fun. I'm wearing my Fantasy Life sweater.
There you go. You gotta send me some swag. I'll rep that shit on there.
It's a cropped sweater. Are you going to wear a cropped hoodie?
Hey, nobody has to see the bottom.
Amazing. Just do a show in your cropped hoodie. Nobody needs to know that,
Reminds me of that scene from Scrubs when JD's going on a date and he's got a 3-piece layer to it, but when he takes off each layer, it's just whoa, how'd you get to that?
Exactly. No. Anyways, there's a lovely start sit tool where you can plug in players and it will give you projections for different stats on them and who you should start. When you plug in Godwin and Yoshivas in here, it clearly marks Godwin as the must start over him. In terms of projected fantasy points and best score, he's much higher at over 10 fantasy points. He's got 11.85. Meanwhile, Yoshivas sitting at 9.95. And then it also plugs in Dwayne McFarland's amazing utilization report score. And the score is quite different too. So Godwin's sitting at a 51 versus Yoshivas' 39. I think to your point, this is going to be a game where you see a little bit more Gesicki as that second pass catcher. And I also see Chase Brown getting a handful of catches in there as well. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss any questions because there's so many. This one from Joe.
I was going to say, if you just go to the Start tab, you just work right on down.
Start tab. Ugh.
Right next to
it's so hard. It's hard for me.
Oh
my God. All right. This one from Joe. Can you rank Chase Brown, who we were just talking about, Bucky Irving, Trayvon, Waddle, Amon-Ra, and A.J. Brown for a guillotine league? not the Sideline Banter one, which I know, Joe, you're crushing it in, so thank you for that. I got cut very early from that one. But do you want to take a first
cut from our club fantasy one, so I feel
Oh my God. Amazing. Do you want to take a first stack at ranking these guys?
Waddle is the last one on this list for me. I would probably go Amon-Ra first.
Yeah.
Probably AJ Brown second. Bucky. And then I think it's a coin flip between Chase Brown and Travion. I would probably lean Travion over Chase Brown. And then Waddle to round out the group.
Yeah. I agree with you. Amon-Ra first. I'm just going back and forth between this and rankings. Amon-Ra, and then I would go Bucky, and then I would go Amon-Ra, Bucky, Trayvon. Waddle's last for me as well. I would flip-flop Chase Brown over AJ Brown. But again, I'm splitting the difference by just like 2 spots in rankings, so very close between them. But yeah, let me see. Next question. Starred tab. I'm learning how to do this. It's just week 15. It's fine. I can learn on the fly. This one from Adam. Good evening. Need your help. Need 2 of these 4 for flex spots. PPR. RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, Michael Wilson, and Justin Jefferson. Thank you. Never thought I'd be considering benching JJ. We talked about this a lot. Thank you, Adam, for giving us this soapbox and this opportunity for us to have a battle and discussion about Michael Wilson versus Justin Jefferson. PPR between these. I'm definitely still starting Michael Wilson despite the matchup. It is so hard to avoid it. I know we might be getting Marvin Harrison back, but I feel like the Cardinals, they might be locked in on all of our wants and needs, and they might listen to what the people want, because they did keep Brissett as a starter, and they said, no, Kyler, you go play video games. We don't need you, right? We're good. You keep resting. I feel like they're going to do the same thing to Marvin Harrison, and they're going to say, shh, it's okay. You keep resting. And they're going to keep feeding Michael Wilson because he's been insanely dominant.
One of only 2 wide receivers this season to have multiple wide receiver 1 overall finishes in a given week.
Yeah.
Michael frickin' Wilson is that dude with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. We've been talking about it a lot on the Club Fantasy shows. I still don't know how Jacoby Brissett is under 50% rostered right now. Why?
That doesn't make any sense.
He is the safest QB1 out there right now. Since week 9, he's literally the QB2 in fantasy football. Only Josh Allen is better.
No.
That's it.
That's kind of insane.
It's a 250 and 2 touchdown floor every week. Like, you can't get any better than that.
No, you can't. But again, we have to go back to ranking these players. I still want RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, and Michael Wilson all over Justin Jefferson. He has not done it. You were painting the illustrious picture off camera earlier. We were discussing this, and you were saying if you were blind resume, you'd remove the name, and you just look at what Justin Jefferson has put up this season, you would laugh if someone said, obviously I'm starting him, and you'd be like, excuse me, this no name that has 0 points? Like, what is happening? Why would you even lean this way? I mean, look, in the last, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks? Yeah, last 5 weeks, he's had less than 10 fantasy points. Less than 10. And he hasn't had a week with more than 17 fantasy points. And the 1 week he had a decent Justin Jefferson kind of esque week, it was without a touchdown against Pittsburgh. Not shocking. But still, I mean, that was 126 yards, no touchdown. He's had 2 touchdowns on this season. 2. This is Justin Jefferson we're talking about. And I know that you have him in a dynasty league. I do as well. You were knocked out in that one, or you're still in?
No, I'm hanging on by the skin of my teeth. Thank God for Josh Jacobs.
Same.
And Travis Etienne has been a pleasant surprise this season.
No, yeah, same. I have him in a dynasty league as well, and I scraped into the playoffs. I'm literally on the bubble, managed to get in. And just, I have Justin Jefferson. I have Jamar Chase. I have Jalen Hurts in this league.
Yep.
How the hell did I make it into the playoffs? I don't know. I mean,
I'm going to paint a picture for you, Sam.
Paint it.
Since week 10,
okay,
Guess how many points Justin Jefferson averages per game?
I mean, you know I'm not good at math, but I do have his stats up, and I'm just going to do a quick math. Is he averaging 4?
A little more. 6.6.
Oh, okay. That's higher than I thought. That says a lot.
6.6 fantasy points. If we were doing start-sit questions, and we said, would you go Pat Bryant or Justin Jefferson? You, of course, would say Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And I would tell you that Pat Bryant is averaging almost a full 2 points per game more than Justin Jefferson over the last 4 weeks. That is the world we live in right now.
Scary.
Justin Jefferson is not the rookie of the year, all-world, like, wide receiver Pro Bowler that he has been. It's not his fault. I want to preface this.
I think that's extremely important to say it's not his fault. And I think
not fallen off a cliff.
No.
If you've played fantasy football for any length of time, you probably remember the 1 year where DeAndre Hopkins finished like right on the cusp of the top 40 at the wide receiver position with Brock Osweiler at quarterback. It was the lone blemish on his time as both a Texan and a Cardinal when he didn't hit 1,000 yards. This is Justin Jefferson's DeAndre Hopkins with Brock Osweiler's season. It's okay to say, sorry, he's staying on my bench right now.
I think it's okay. You have to be okay with it. I think that what I can imagine people are thinking is they're looking at this matchup at Dallas. Mm-hmm. Dallas is arguably a very beatable defense. For the quarterback position alone, they're 32nd in the league against quarterbacks. You can score on them. However, it's J.J. McCarthy that's under center. And yes, this past week against Washington, he ended up with plus 20 fantasy points at that position, 3 touchdowns. But again, Justin Jefferson with measly 2 catches? Whatever's happening is what you can count on is, despite the fact that this is a good matchup, if I was a defense and I know we are Swiss cheese and we struggle, the first thing I would do is look at their number 1 player and make sure that we at the very least eliminate them. Yep. Because that is going to completely hamstring this offense from getting anything going and being productive, and I would make them beat me another way.
Yep. So to answer Adam's question.
That was a very long-winded answer for Adam.
Because it's 2 of these 4.
Yes.
I'm going the running backs. Now, if we get word that Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, I hate to say this, but I'm sitting Travion Henderson over RJ Harvey. I'm rolling with Harvey.
Oh, no. I don't know that I could do that, just because Henderson's done so much for me to even get me in the playoffs.
RJ Harvey's been a top 4 running back last 2 weeks.
I'm just saying. It feels wrong. I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. That's what I'm saying. So
look, I love me some Travion Henderson. But you just have to lean into the volume right now, and RJ Harvey's getting that over Travion. Because Mike Vrabel still thinks that Ramondre Stevenson is good at football.
We could tell him he's not.
Clearly he's not going to listen.
No, that's fair. Yeah. RJ Harvey sitting at running back 15 on Fantasy Life rankings, while Henderson's sitting at RB 17. So, again, splitting hairs in rankings, but if this is how you're chopping things up, I understand and it makes sense. I don't have to like it, though. And that's what I'm going to lean on. We've got so many questions to get to in the chat, and I want to make sure we get to all of them. But I do want to just quickly, because it is part of the news and we got to talk about it. Obviously, Daniel Jones out for the season with an Achilles injury. Absolutely brutal. Sucks because the Colts felt like they were on absolutely a hot streak, and it just feels like different things keep getting dealt to them, and it's just difficult hands. But their solution, because their rookie quarterback that had a lovely start this past weekend, Leonard, he is also dealing with a knee injury. They have signed PHILLIP Rivers to the practice squad, and we're recording this Tuesday night. It could come out tomorrow, Wednesday, where it says he's been officially signed to the active roster, and this is the reality that we're living in. 2025, we talked about the potential for a Jaguars Seahawks Super Bowl. PHILLIP Rivers starting for the Colts is also a thing that could happen this week. So this is reality. What do we do with all of our Colts players if this happens?
The only ones that I feel any level of confidence in are Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren. That's it.
Yep.
And given that it's week 15, I would go so far as to say, and we talked about this on our waiver wire show this morning, I would go so far as to say that you can outright drop Downs, Pierce, even Michael Pittman if you absolutely needed somebody to start this week, because no way in hell am I going to trust a 44-year-old quarterback with my playoff game on the line.
It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. I agree with your assessment of if I had to.
Yeah, otherwise they're just staying on the bench.
It would be Warren and Taylor that are getting the start. Obviously, it's Jonathan Taylor, so it feels weird that you even think about benching him. But they're also going up against Seattle, who we just talked about as being favorites for Super Bowl just because their defense has been so good. 6th against the position at running back are Seattle's defense. But 30th against tight end. So start up your Tyler Warren shares, because also, didn't he play quarterback back in the day? So if they needed to play a little funny wildcat or different things, so he could end up throwing a pass or two. We could taste and hill this.
You know, at Penn State, his final year before he got drafted, like, they didn't have anybody on that offense. Like, he lined up at quarterback a lot and just took a lot of like wildcat kind of formations, and you know, and the Colts haven't been afraid to utilize him in these types of formations either. Like, honestly, why not just go out there and run some form of like a wing tee with Tyler Warren at quarterback, flank him with Jonathan Taylor and like DJ Giddens, and just like go old school, baby. Hell, you know what? Get even more creative and split PHILLIP Rivers out wide as a decoy and do a Philly special on their ass. Like, why not, man? Shane Steichen was like, come on.
The only reason
I know you got it in you, buddy. I know you got it in you.
The only reason that would work is because the defense would be so confused. There would be some penalty of, you know, a false start, because they'd be like, but why? And then they'd only gain yardage because of the false starts being called against the defense, because they're just confused as to what the hell this offense is trying to do.
And I'll tell you what, I will give Shane Steichen all the credit in the world. He is a very good schematic offensive mind. And he can come up with a lot of fun stuff. And you know, I know you'll get to this quote here in a minute, but you know, Shane Steichen and PHILLIP Rivers have a relationship going all the way back to when the Chargers played in San Diego.
They did.
Steichen was the offensive coordinator there before he went to Philly and joined Nick Sirianni, and they stayed in touch.
They did.
So like they have this relationship. They're very in sync when it comes to offensive philosophies and stuff. It's just going to be PHILLIP Rivers is 44 years old. How much can like this is like Burt Reynolds trotting on the field in the longest yard to come out here and like
we don't sully the name of Burt Reynolds on this podcast.
No, I'm not sullying it at all. I'm just saying, like, this is basically what we're doing here.
This is the reality that we are living. Yes, and you teed it up well. Thank you. Lovely JJ Watt posted this on Twitter, and I reposted it earlier today. This lovely little bit of news, which I think layers onto the familiarity that you're speaking of between Rivers and Steichen. This is per JJ Watt. Fun fact, learned this in a production meeting. PHILLIP Rivers ran the same offense as the Colts for his son Gunner's high school team this season. He and Shane Steichen spoke weekly about it, discussing plays and even film. So familiarity with the scheme should be no problem whatsoever. So in terms of being in sync and just like, you know, drinking the same Kool-Aid or what have you, to your point, they're right there. So if they did make this decision, it would be less crazy because of how in sync these two are in terms of just the football mindset, what their goals are strategy-wise. I mean, could happen.
Well, and that's the thing. It's just, to me, it's just going to boil down to physical limitations. Again, you're talking about a 44-year-old quarterback. Like, there were, you know, even Tom Brady going out there at 45 years old, like, there was plenty of things that he still couldn't do versus when he was 27 or 30 or even 34, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just father time catches up to you. There's a reason that PHILLIP Rivers retired. Like, and the fun fact, he has a kid that's older than Riley Leonard. I want to like, this is the world that we live in right now.
Hey, you know, again, talking playoffs and outside looking in, if the Colts could get back on the win streak and if they could do it under PHILLIP Rivers, they'd have a shot.
Yeah.
Talk about a messy Super Bowl.
I mean, they're still in the hunt. Like, they have the same record as Houston, if I'm not mistaken. Both have 5 losses. Like, one's trending up, the other's not so much. But, obviously losing Sauce Gardner after trading, 2 first-round picks isn't the most ideal situation. But luckily, he's not on IR, so hopefully he'll be able to come back strong and further solidify that defense. But, as long as you have Jonathan Taylor, you're going to be able to compete, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Like, the dude is all world. No. And you can put he can carry an offense. So I'm not worried about it from that perspective. It's just going to be, what does Steichen dial up? How creative can he get? If Riley, and again, all of this is to say, if Riley Leonard can't go, he's right now considered week to week with a knee sprain or a sprained ligament in his knee or something like that. There's a chance maybe he goes. Again, I don't know if that's better than a 44-year-old PHILLIP Rivers, because again, he was a 6th-round pick and couldn't hit the broadside of a barn throwing at Notre Dame last year, but he can run. And that's why I say, if you build this offense and just bludgeon the Seahawks for 50 rush attempts,
sure,
they're gonna break at some point.
I don't know, but to Joe's point, I'm in the comments, Rivers has 10 kids that keep him physically able, so at least we do know he's mobile because he has to keep chasing around after these kids.
The dude is going to be taking a nap at halftime.
Hey, I'm sure you just give him an Uncrustables and a banana, because if he's got that many kids, that's what he's been surviving off of anyways. A handful of goldfish crackers, a dino chicken nugget, he'll be fine. He just needs, a little bit of spot of protein. A dino nugget, I'm sure active working parents with lots of kids, they understand in order to stay fueled, you're just eating a spoonful of leftover mac and cheese and drinking the last bit of a Gatorade. So I'm sure that he's actually going to be just fine to get a start. But we had to talk about it. We had to talk about it. There were plenty of other injuries this past week. Obviously, Jaden Daniels out again with elbow. Absolutely brutal. Just can't catch a break. It sucks.
Put him out of his misery.
No, it's just horrible. Geno Smith dealing with shoulder injury. Tyrod Taylor, a groin injury. Devon Achane, day-to-day, but likely to play. It was a shot in the ribs, and I was encouraged by the news that I heard yesterday that the next day feels pretty good. This was just a little bit of a stinger moment. Well, so he's probably going to be fine.
They were railing the Jets. There was no need to bring him back in.
No, there wasn't. And he kept saying he could have gone back in, but they wanted to play it safe. I'm glad that they did. Definitely,
we
obviously
need playoff runs.
Sure, yeah. The same playoff run that I'm going to be starting in. But anyways, David Njoku dealing with a knee injury, so make sure that if Harold Fannin is in your waivers, that you just pick him up, if nothing else, to play defense against your opponents going into the playoffs. 39% rostered, so he's available and out there. And if the Cleveland offense is going to have any wing and a prayer to get points on the board, it's going to be some of those going to Harold Fannin.
Last 3 weeks with Shedeur Sanders as the quarterback, Harold Fannin's a tight end 2 in fantasy football.
There you go. Start up your Harold Fannin. He shouldn't be that available. These numbers don't make sense. Keaton Mitchell dealing with an injury and horrific leg injury for Zach Ertz, out for the season with a knee issue. That was also brutal to see. Absolutely horrible, but this is what it is. We're trying to move forward. Trying to stay positive. Let's answer a couple more questions before we jump into some other additional waiver wire targets that people might have. Me learning how to use the starred tab, so thank you for that. Let's see. This one from Adam. Thank you for answering my first question about Justin Jefferson. I've got another one for you. Scott Fishbowl, let's go. We love Scott Fish. He's the best. Need 3. Deebo Samuel, and Kareem. Did I read that right?
Yeah, he follows it up with this one. I think this is probably more of the appropriate one here. So
who do I bench out of these 4? Okay, Dalton Kincaid, Jefferson, Kareem Hunt, or Deebo. Ooh.
Well, tight ends rake in Scott Fishbowl, so you're absolutely starting Dalton Kincaid.
Yes, you kind of have to start Kincaid. Oh God, this is kind of messy.
How bad is it that I want to say sit Justin Jefferson?
Now you're just being spiteful.
Not even. 2 catches for 11 yards. I need people to understand this.
You do know that your mic is picking up all of your sound. I'm hearing all of it. It sounds great. Just give me a sec. I'm going to get the blood out of my headphones. Okay, we're good. Anyways, we get it.
I mean, I
Justin
don't
Jefferson
love
is
Kareem
brutal.
Hunt's matchup, but running backs also do well because of the points per first down and the carries and stuff, and that's kind of what benefits Debo here because they will use him out of the backfield on occasion. Who does Washington have this week? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. They've got the Giants. I don't know how you can sit Debo. Honestly, based on the scoring, I'm sitting Justin Jefferson here. I know that sucks to say, but like, again, it's not a great matchup for Kareem Hunt. So if you don't like Kareem Hunt here, that's fine. But they utilize him in the red zone. He's their guy. So
No, I would bench Kareem Hunt of these
that's
four.
fair.
That's like, I have a line. The hate has gone very far, and I am in agreement. Justin Jefferson is brutal. He's been brutal, but I'm just giving that to him over Kareem Hunt. It's, again, the line is difficult, and this is, to your point, Scott Fishbowl scoring. So of course Dalton Kincaid's making it in there. Debo's matchup is too good, but for me, I can't pull that trigger and say Hunt over Jefferson for those two. So that's where I'm at. This playoff question from Juan. Who for my QB1? I've got Brissett. We've talked a lot about him. And on waivers, got Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams. There are too many people available in your league, and I'm very jealous when people have this many players available in their leagues.
Yeah, so we talked about this this morning because we got a lot of questions about Brissett versus Trevor Lawrence. Don't love Brissett's matchup. Obviously, he gets Houston this week. Not great. Not a lot of people liked it against the Rams last week either. Still finishes the QB 12. Trevor Lawrence the last 4 weeks is the QB4 in fantasy football. I'm fine if you would prefer Trevor Lawrence here. He gets the Jets. It's a great matchup versus Brissett in Houston. Next week, though, like, I'm fine grabbing both these guys. Grab Lawrence, grab Brissett, keep them. Lawrence gets the Jets this week. Brissett's got a cake matchup in week 16. I can't remember off the top of my head who it is. But Trevor Lawrence gets the Colts again, and he just tore them up. Like, the Jags offense just put up 36 points on the Colts. That could win you your league, just rotating those two.
It's gross, but it's true. Feels very weird. Leaning into, again, Fantasy Life rankings, because I'm a company woman, and that's just how I live my life. I don't really make decisions at work unless I'm pulling up Fantasy Life rankings, even if it's just like...
Well, if that's not a plug, I don't know what is.
I don't know. Yeah. I know what I'm doing. I just love this team and I love this site. But Trevor Lawrence sitting at QB 13, Brissett sitting at QB 20. Again, that has a ton to do with the matchup because, again, this is against Houston, who has been absolutely brutal for opposing quarterbacks. Looking at Bryce Young sitting at QB 24 and Stroud sitting at QB 22. So amongst those, to me, Lawrence... Again, it's just too good of a matchup to not start him right out the gate. Again, he's top of rankings of all of those. But to your point, I'd pick up Lawrence, keep Brissett, and then depending on who else you can drop and pick up just to stash away some QBs. I love playing keep away in a lot of my leagues, so it depends on how deep your bench is. You could probably pick up some additional players. Just
and I do like
to play the
Stroud's
matchup
this week too against Arizona.
Yeah, also a great matchup for Stroud. Again, sitting kind of
for $150 this week. It's going to be gorgeous.
Again, if this is just a one QB league, I think that you're very safe in starting Lawrence this week. Again, just because the matchup is so good. But then maybe you stash away someone else going into the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, I know you got a couple questions here from Jeff. If you scroll up on the start tab,
from Jeff.
Yeah, Bay and Jeff. I can pull them up. Here.
You do it. I can't see. Lovely. Okay, pick one QB, half-point PPR, Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold, or Caleb Williams. Ooh, pick one. God. Isn't it crazy that Sam Darnold is still obviously in the MVP conversation?
I've been saying this for a few weeks. I think Sam Darnold is better for NFL than he is for fantasy because of how good that Seahawks defense is. They're just bludgeoning teams, and Darnold doesn't have to do anything.
No.
I mean, they pitched a shutout against Minnesota. They scored 31 points. He was like QB 23 on the week. Like, he's not doing anything for fantasy purposes because they can just run the football and play good defense.
Yeah.
And I don't see how that's really going to be any different this week. Like, you might get 202 touchdowns, but you might also get 170 and 1 touchdown and a lot of good running for Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, fair. So if you're picking between these, obviously Jaden Daniels dealing with an elbow injury, so I'm gonna leave him off of this list because Marcus Mariota getting the start this week.
Yeah, it's terrible for me.
But I will give the pick to Sam Darnold here, just because again he's sitting at QB 16 for the week, while Caleb Williams sitting at 21 against the Browns. I mean, I can say whatever I want about the Browns because I'm a Steelers fan, and they have made some poor decisions. But the thing that they do correctly is they pay and find ways to continue to get Myles Garrett out there and available, so that way he can swallow up quarterbacks. He does it very well, and in my IDP league that I've got the bye week in, shameless flex, I have Myles Garrett, so yay. I will be happy that Garrett is going to be going up against Caleb Williams, and I hope that he gets to him quite a lot because I get a good amount of points for sacks.
Yeah, I'm going to go Caleb. I just think his upside is better than Sam Darnold. I understand the matchup's a little bit tougher, but it is at home. Bears tend to play a little bit better there, so I've been on record, just drop Jaden Daniels. There's no point in hanging on to him at this point. Like Washington, they finally activated him. What does he do? He just goes out and gets hurt. Like at a certain point, you just have to protect him against himself. Yeah. And your team's not going anywhere. You're not winning anything this season. Just ride it out with Mariota, finish the season, get him healthy, and move on to 2026.
It's crazy this is what's happening, but we need to find ways to get these quarterbacks to protect themselves better. And honestly, there should be so much more investment in offensive linemen from all of these teams, and this is a huge year to just be a testament to that they would have had much longer seasons if they had just invested differently in their lines to protect their quarterbacks. This one from Jeff as well. I also need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Running backs starting with Gibbs, Woody Marks, Swift, Monangai. Wide receivers, Pickens, Egbuka, BTJ, Tet McMillan. It's a lovely little smattering of players right there.
Yeah.
So we got to pick 2, pick 1 for flex.
All right. I'm going Gibbs, Swift at running back. I'm going to go Pickens and McMillan at wide receiver. And then for the flex, it's probably between Woody Marks and Ibuka for me. Ibuka's seeing the targets. The production really hasn't been there. Marks gets the volume. I like Marks' matchup a little bit better, so I'm going to lean Marks against Arizona.
Okay.
Mostly because I don't want to start 2 Bears running backs against the Browns.
Fair. Okay, so what were your 2 running backs again? You went Gibbs, right?
Gibbs and Swift, yeah.
Gibbs and Swift.
And then Marks in the flex.
Well, Gibbs for sure. I'm not mad at Marks in the flex. I'm looking at wide receivers too. Yeah, I mean, Pickens for sure is going to end up in there.
Yeah, I think he'll get a big bounce back game this week.
Big bounce back game. Love McMillan. So I think that he's got to be my other wide receiver. Because here's the thing. I mean, the Jags have found so much success, but they haven't necessarily needed BTJ to do much to do that. He hasn't been the one that they've been relying on. You know, if anything, Jacoby Myers is sitting much higher in terms of usage. So wouldn't necessarily give him the nod either. So yeah, I think I'll go Pickens, McMillan, Gibbs. Yeah, Swift and Marks too. So yeah, I think I'm right there with you in terms of how I'm seeing them pan out. Thanks for that one, Jeff. All right. You want to throw up the next one?
Yeah, I'm trying to backtrack a little bit because some of these have been in here for a while.
Sorry, guys. We're going as quick as we can. We'll probably do another 5-10 minutes on this, and then we will probably log off for the week because we've covered a lot of different questions. You guys have been fantastic throwing all of these in here for us. This one from Joe. To win the Sideline Banter Guillotine League, low-key flex, I see you, Joe. Rank these players: Josh Jacobs, James Cook, Chase Brown, Derrick Henry, Saquon, Pickens, and Nico. Wow, that's a lot of players to rank.
That's a lot. Okay.
Divide and conquer. Let's see.
Yeah, right. Where we got matchups wise? Let's see. Okay, Saquon's got the Raiders. Henry's got the Bengals.
Cook has the Patriots.
Yeah. Packers have the Broncos. Definitely don't love Jacobs this week, but I think he's still a safe floor guy. You see Chase Brown, obviously, in that Ravens
Saquon
game.
has the Raiders.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that obviously the Eagles just did what they did, but they've got the Raiders this week. So,
honestly, I think your two safest are Nico Collins and George Pickens. If I'm being honest, I think Nico against Arizona, that passing offense in Houston seems to be clicking. George Pickens, I think, is going to have a big bounce back this week. So I think those are really going to be your top two guys. James Cook did just fine against New England the last time around. I think he's going to be fine this week. Excuse me. God, I really want to put Saquon at 3 here, but every time he's up, he just falls right back down because the offense can't figure shit out.
yeah.
Derrick Henry needs a touchdown, otherwise he's useless. Chase Brown will get plenty of pass catches.
I mean,
I would probably put Henry last on this list, if I'm being honest. And I feel like
even
that's
though they're
weird.
against the Bengals?
Yeah. He doesn't catch it. He rarely catches passes. So he needs 120 yards and at least one touchdown to pay off.
Yeah.
And when I've got big play guys like Nico and Pickens that could very easily go for 30 in a given week, especially on good matchups, I think that takes the cake. Raiders' run defense, believe it or not, has actually been halfway decent this season. I know that the team itself is imploded, but I mean, if you want to put Jacobs last against Denver, I'm fine with that. And then probably go Cook, Saquon, Chase Brown, Henry, Jacobs. But the two wide receivers take the cake for me.
I get why. If this is PPR, then 100%. Then you're leaning towards them quite a bit more. Just in terms of rankings and where they're sitting, I mean, you've got, again, going off of Fantasy Life rankings, Derrick Henry sitting at, when you're comparing running backs with wide receivers and how they stack up in total rankings, Derrick Henry sitting at 8th, then James Cook. Then you've got Josh Jacobs, Nico Collins, George Pickens, and then Chase Brown. So that's kind of how they're stacking. And Saquon Barkley is in between Jacobs and Collins there in terms of where they're sitting on rankings. So also get that. But again, depends on, I think it's PPR. So I definitely do love the wide receivers this week. I just would feel really bad benching Saquon again. It's too good of a matchup.
Yeah, and I get that. And to your point about Henry against Cincy, he went for 17.4 last time. He had 60 yards and a touchdown. Miraculously, did have one catch and took it for 44 yards. But that was quite literally his first game this season above 25 receiving yards.
Yeah.
So, like, you just can't really count on the pass catching. And if they're not leaning on him to actually run the football, which they really haven't this season, it just makes it harder to trust, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely a little bit harder to trust, which is sad. Okay, let me see. Let's do 2 more questions. Let's see. I see this one from Michael. First round buy for me. Drafted Jaden Daniels, traded for Stafford week 7, kept Daniels on the bench. IR, would you drop Daniels for a second defense, Rams, Vikings, Lions, have Tampa or anyone else? Yes, you can comfortably drop Daniels, and I definitely think that stacking great defenses going into your playoffs is a solid move. Especially if you don't have needs anywhere else.
Drop Tampa. They're terrible.
You can... Don't laugh at our listeners and viewers.
I'm not laughing at him.
You're literally laughing.
No, I'm saying you could.
Josh.
Michael, you know, you tune into a lot of our shows at Club Fantasy. No, like Tampa's defense has been terrible. They're not getting after the quarterback, and Jason Pierre-Paul, who they recently signed, is not saving them. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get maybe the matchups are there, but you can throw all over that defense. And they're not sacking the quarterback. They're not really creating turnovers. So, I mean, the first thing I would do would be drop Tampa to pick up the Rams. That would be the first thing I would do. I'm perfectly fine dropping Jade Daniels. I want to point that out, that we've been on this train for a while.
Yeah.
Pick up the Vikings. They get sacks. That's what you need, sacks and turnovers.
Sacks and turnovers get you the points. That is for sure. Let's see. In terms of how these defenses are ranking for the total season, definitely Rams. If I were to pick one up, it would be them. Looking at that compared to the others on the list. Yeah.
Well, and you're also looking at, because he's on a first-round bye, so who are the matchups here in Week 16?
Yeah.
Rams get the Seahawks. They can hold that offense in check. Tampa gets the Panthers at home. Panthers at home are good. and
Yeah.
you can run on the Bucks.
Fair.
Minnesota gets, who do the Vikings have? Vikings have
Giants.
the Giants. You
Another
want
good matchup.
to play the Vikings against the Giants.
Yeah. So there's some good matchups here. All in all, these are some decent options, and definitely drop Daniels to pick up a second defense just to play the matchup later on. I think that's money in the bank for sure. Let's see. Live. Gosh, there's so many questions. Okay, wait. You pick one.
Pull this one up for me, Angie.
Okay. This one from Angie. Hi, friends. 14-team keeper league. Have Daniels been subbing with Brissett? He's, again, been incredibly safe. Who has Houston defense this week? Would you pick up McCarthy versus Dallas this week, or just ride Brissett, so to speak? So to speak, if you want.
The answer is never JJ McCarthy.
It's just that he's not done really anything to make you feel confident that he can handle what should be a decent matchup. It's hard to imagine that having success. Again, we know that it's going to be a tough matchup for Brissett. At the very least, what you do know is that the Cardinals are going to fall behind, and they're going to have to continue to throw, and they're going to have to continue to try to eat away at a lead. So I do feel like it's going to be brutal, but I would rather cheer for Brissett somehow getting me some points and getting me a good average than praying that JJ McCarthy can do the bare minimum, what he needs to do with a decent matchup.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I understand the question. Since week 10, Dallas allows the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks.
Yeah.
At 22.4. Like, it makes sense why we're considering this. But, like, sometimes you just have to look at the player's body of work and say, wow, this guy sucks. Doesn't matter how good the matchup is. Take the safe floor with Brissett, because even outside of that, in bad matchups, he's providing a ceiling.
Yeah.
And that is 20 some odd fantasy points every single week. And that's going into, 4 points per passing touchdown. That's not including 6 point per passing touchdown, where it's probably higher than that. So I'm perfectly fine sticking with Brissett this week.
Yeah, I think that it feels weird, but you're also like, this is what got you here, so you might as well just stick with it, kind of a thing.
I was going to say, like, this has flashbacks of when I randomly started Tim Tebow in a playoff game, like, way back when, and he sunk my ship because it's Tim Tebow, and he fucking sucks at throwing the football. Like, don't get cute. That's what I would just want to preface. And it fits the theme of this show. So,
yeah. I'll do this. There's a couple from Juan here, all one after another, so I'll just kind of read them all together. Who, for my wide receiver 3 and flex spot? Addison, Samuel, Kayshon Boutte, Quentin Johnston, Mike Evans on IR, could be coming back this week, or running backs Henderson, Singletary, Charbonnet.
A lot of that group, Henderson's definitely the flex. So
yeah, they have. So in terms of what the rest of their team looks like, they have Devontae Adams as wide receiver 1, Jacoby Myers at their wide receiver 2, Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs as their RBs 1 and 2, and they have Kittle at tight end, or should they go Juwan Johnson, or a second tight end? I think you're fine with just sticking with Kittle. I wouldn't go Johnson there. But going back to the question of the 3 plus the flex spot, I mean, based on what you've said earlier with the matchup, Deebo Samuel has a really great matchup. We've already talked about very little confidence in the Vikings offense, so I don't know how you feel about Addison. I still love TreVeyon Henderson, so for me, I'd love to flex him if I could.
Yeah, in my opinion, you're flexing Henderson. And then I think for your wide receiver 3 spot, it just kind of boils down to, do you feel like you want to say floor, or do you want a ceiling play? Because for me, the floor play is Deebo Samuel, or shoot for the moon with Kayshon Boutte, because he's their touchdown guy. He's the guy that, they will get the ball to in space. They will throw it downfield, and he'll get those long touchdowns. But then every once in a while, he turns into a volume guy, and he'll get 4 or 5 catches on top of the 95 to 100 yards and a touchdown or 2. So, and again, this is the type of matchup against Buffalo where you can throw on them. Look what Joe Burrow just did.
Yeah, very fair.
He had 4 touchdowns. So this is setting up for a good matchup for Kayshon Boutte. So I think if you really need a ceiling here as your wide receiver 3, which you already have the safe option in Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
And for as great as Devontae Adams is, his entire season has been built on touchdowns. So if he's not scoring touchdowns, he's a wide receiver 3.
Sure.
So maybe it makes sense to go with the big play and Booty.
Yeah, I think that could be a good move too. Plus, I think that the way that this scheme could work out, if the Pats are able to somehow get ahead and get some points on the board and they want to eat away at clock, because I do feel like that's another way that Buffalo gets beat quite a bit, is just by game clock management and other teams doing that better than them. I feel like the Patriots could do that here, and TreVeyon Henderson would then get you that solid floor by his constant usage in the run game, again, just for clock management.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Love it. Should we call it a night?
It's up to you. It's your show.
Let's. Guys, it has been so much fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Josh, where should people be liking, subscribing so they don't miss a single episode of goodness on Women of Fantasy Football and everywhere else?
Absolutely. So you can follow Women of Fantasy Football on the socials at women_of_FF. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Those are going to be the 2 platforms that we're most active on. We do have Blue Sky. It's the same thing at Women of, I believe it's at Women of FF. And then, of course, you can follow Club Fantasy as well at Club Fantasy FFL, womenoffantasyfootball.com, clubfantasyffl.com. But subscribe to the YouTube, wherever you're listening to the podcast, hit the follow button. We've been doing a lot of work to try to support, Sam and her show and everything to grow Sideline Banter and everything. And I have a really good feeling that off-season is going to be a lot of fun because Sam's probably going to be covering the Super Bowl, guys.
Is this how you choose to tell me? Oh my God. Rude. Don't make me cry to sign off on a show. Seriously? Is it happening? Oh my God. Freaking Josh. He's the best. Ugh. Guys, thank you again so much. Lots to come in the off season. Tate and I are planning on covering a few more weeks with you to get you through these playoffs. So we'll be with you next week. Looking at a calendar really quick just to make sure that you guys don't miss a single episode. We will be on next week. We're going to take a break for Christmas. And then we may or may not join you guys for the week before New Year's. But if we are going to have a show, we'll obviously be promoting it. Would love to hear all about your teams and how you did in the playoffs. I also want to post some questions on Twitter. So if you could, at me on Twitter, I want to know who your number 1 pick was and what your total rankings were. What was your scoring win? If you made it to the playoffs, who's the guy that got you there? And what was your end result? So we'd just love to see that, have some lovely engagement. And as we do off-season stuff and build up for rookie hype, of course, because we're going to be covering that too, as we are degenerates and love Dynasty and love rookies and drafting, we're going to be covering everyone coming into the next season. So make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. We will see you next week for another episode of Sideline Banter. Good luck this week in the playoff, guys. You got this. We'll see you next week.